Settle close to the fire for a moment. Let the flames dance and let your heart breathe. Tonight we're telling 3 stories, one from long ago and one from our own world, and one from a world that hasn't arrived yet but is already calling to us. Each of them turns towards the same ancient question that follows humanity like a shadow at sundown. How do we care for those who have less? And maybe even deeper, how do we care for those who have more? 2 moral masters appear in this circle of light, one who walked dusty roads before any of our cities arose, and one who still walks among tents and hungry children today. Their centuries are different, but their clarity is the same. Both carried a lantern bright understanding that cut through the noise of their age. They spoke not only to the poor, but also to leaders, merchants, landholders, the ones shaping the structures around them. And what they said and what they did still hums in the air if we listen softly. So if you lean in, I can almost feel them sitting here with us. Jesus by an ancient fire near Galilee, and the Dalai Lama smiling gently in a modern world that keeps forgetting what compassion is for. And just beyond them, faint but steady, is the outline of a future we're trying to build. A place where no one is left behind, because everyone remembers what they belong to each other. A place we call the sweet spot, where compassion is not merely taught, but woven into the architecture of daily life. A world that honors the dignity Jesus protected and the tenderness the Dalai Lama lives by. A world like that isn't fantasy. It's simply a decision waiting to be made. Then, Jesus. In the dry hills of his homeland, the teacher walked through villages where bread was thin and hope was thinner. He knew hunger firsthand. He had missed meals while traveling, saving what little he had for those he met along the road. And when crowds gathered, he never turned them away. He fed them with whatever baskets appeared, showing again and again that when love is passed hand to hand, there is always enough. He spoke gently to the poor. "Lift your hearts," he said. "You are not forgotten." He reminded them that their worth was not measured in coins or livestock, but in the light they carried inside. But when he spoke to the rich, merchants, rulers, and gatekeepers, his tone grew firmer. He asked them to open their hands, to loosen their grip on overflowing storehouses, to share without boasting. He told them a simple story about a camel and a narrow gate, and everyone understood. Wealth becomes a burden when it blocks the path back to compassion. When a man of great property asked how to live a good life, Jesus didn't shame him. He invited him into the flow of generosity for the sake of his own freedom. His teachings were never about punishment. They were about liberation. He walked among those who slept in doorways and those who gathered at the edges of village fires. He shared what little he had, listened to the stories of those the world forgot, and whispered blessings not as doctrines, but as reassurances spoken under open skies. He said, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness." He told the wealthy that life does not consist in the abundance of possessions, and reminded givers to give humbly. Do not sound a trumpet. Give in secret. Mercy to him was never a transaction. It was a way of living. Once, after days of hunger on the road with his followers, he refused to send them away. He gave thanks for the small amount they had and shared it. A small kindness became a feast. Everywhere he went, the dusty towns, fishing docks, stony hillsides, he reached first for the ones society overlooked. When a blind beggar cried out from the roadside and the crowd tried to silence him, Jesus stopped the entire journey. He said, "Bring him to me." He treated the poor not as burdens, but as brothers. Yet his words to the rich were different, not cruel, but awakening. To a young man with many possessions, he said gently, "If you wish to be whole, share what you have with those who have nothing." Not because he despised wealth, but because he knew how quietly it can build walls around the heart. More than once he warned leaders that a society ignoring its poor becomes spiritually hollow. But he did not call for uprisings or force. He spoke of compassion woven into councils, where those with power would look into the faces of the hungry and be transformed. He saw the widow dropping 2 small coins and lifted her above the wealthy men around her. "She has given more than all the rest," he said. He understood generosity not by the size of the gift, but by the size of the heart that offered it. And there was the young man he met near Jericho, the one sleeping under a blanket of rags. Jesus stayed beside him until morning, sharing stories, warming him with presence, giving what little he had left. No judgment, only love returning a soul to strength. Jesus did not view poverty as a disgrace. He viewed it as an invitation for those who have little to be lifted, and for those who have much to be softened. 2 sides of the same healing. Now, the Dalai Lama. Far from those ancient hills, another teacher walks gently into the places where suffering gathers. He steps barefoot among tents and worn blankets, smiling with the softness of someone who has known exile yet refuses bitterness. When he visits a small camp on the edge of a modern city, he kneels to eye level with the people who live there. He asks their names. He blesses their children. He reminds them that dignity is not taken by poverty. It only sleeps. He has known hunger too. As a young monk traveling through remote villages, he shared whatever food he received, trusting that compassion multiplies like water poured into a dry seedbed. During his early years of exile, living in small rooms and sharing rations with the monks who followed him out of Tibet, he learned again what it means to live simply. The world sees his public smile, but those close to him know he has never forgotten the taste of scarcity. He has visited places where children sleep under tarps and elders warm their hands over burning scraps. He never arrives with ceremony. He kneels, listens, and places his forehead close to theirs, a gesture that seems to say, "Your suffering is not beneath me, it is with me." But like Jesus before him, he doesn't speak only to the poor. He speaks to presidents, ministers, governors, and business leaders, urging them to build systems of mercy rather than competition. His message is steady and universal. If you want happiness, practice compassion. If you want others to be happy, practice compassion. To the wealthy, he says with that unforgettable gentle smile that joy grows fastest when given away. He encourages them to become caretakers of society rather than collectors of trophies. He knows the human heart becomes lighter when it lifts others. True wealth, he teaches, is measured in compassion. A good leader takes care of those in need first. Compassion is not a luxury, it is a necessity for survival. These are not philosophies to him, they are instructions. His own choices reflect this truth. Across multiple peace prizes and global honors, he donated the award money to shelters, to clinics, to education and disaster relief. He often refused luxury accommodations while traveling, choosing simple rooms instead. Comfort, he would say, means little when others nearby are suffering. He teaches everywhere he goes that giving changes to the giver, easing fear, dissolving anxiety, drawing people back into connection. When he speaks about the future of education, his voice brightens. He advocates passionately for secular ethics in schools, empathy, cooperation, and community strength taught alongside reading and mathematics. In this, his vision meets ours, a world where learning kindness is as essential as learning numbers, and where generosity becomes the foundation for society. And there is the moment people still talk about, when he visited a camp of displaced families. He didn't bring speeches, he brought warmth. He walked from tent to tent, asking mothers what they needed, laughing softly with their children. This was teaching without words. But to the powerful, his message takes a different shape. He reminds leaders that a wealthy society must act as caretaker for those who have fallen behind. He never shames, he invites. He never scolds, he clarifies. And like Jesus before him, he tells the rich that generosity is not loss, it is liberation. That's a real moment, not legend, not sermon, when the Dalai Lama visited a homeless encampment in Delhi. It wasn't a press event. He sat on the ground with them, knees folded, palms open, listening. One man told him he felt invisible. The Dalai Lama placed a hand on his shoulder and said, "I see you. When we recognize each other, suffering becomes smaller." Later he shared tea with the women in the camp and promised the children he would return. And he did. In Dharamshala, refugees arrived cold and starving from the Himalayan passes. The Dalai Lama ordered that his own kitchen be emptied so they could eat. Compassion must cost us something, he told his attendants. And it did. He doesn't manifest bread from baskets like Jesus, but he lifts spirits. And sometimes that is enough to keep a person alive one more night. The future, the sweet spot. So what happens after then and now? What do we say about the world that could be? If we lean forward into the firelight, we can almost see the outline of a different tomorrow. A world shaped not by charity alone, but by design. A world where compassion is built into the structure itself, so it lifts everyone at once. In this future, every person's basic needs are met. Food, shelter, warmth, safety. Not as a handout, but as a starting point. A floor that no one can fall below. Above that floor is connection, a vast living network called the Unity Hub. Part bulletin board, part opportunity bridge, part community heartbeat. Anyone can step inside. Anyone can offer what they can. Anyone can receive what they need. Jobs, tasks, mentorships, shared local projects, all flowing like a river through every community. You earn by contributing, and you give by choice, and you receive without shame. And because the system is transparent, generosity becomes contagious. People see the difference their efforts make in real time. The wealthy find new purpose. The lonely find belonging. the struggling find support. Communities that once fractured begin to grow strong again. In this vision, poverty isn't solved by miracle or sermon. It's solved by design. Leaders in this future aren't kings of old or bureaucrats of today. They're everyday people, guiding the flow of resources in their communities through transparent pathways that circulate excess like healthy blood through the body. Here, children grow up learning generosity, the way one learns to plant seeds. Through the cookie economy class, youth earn cookies, share cookies, and allocate them in ways that mirror a real economy, but with kindness baked into its foundation. By the time they grow up, giving is not a sacrifice. It's simply how a society stays whole. This is the sweet spot, the place where love becomes policy, compassion becomes infrastructure, and leadership becomes service rather than control. Now, the fire crackles low, and the stories lean forward, from the past into the possible. Jesus taught leaders to lift the poor. The Dalai Lama teaches leaders to see the poor as themselves. In this future, the wealthy are not shamed. They are honored, invited to become architects of compassion. They discover what both teachers whispered across centuries. Happiness expands when generosity flows. Excess wealth is gently redirected into opportunity. Those at the bottom are lifted by design, not by accident or personal preference. A happy community becomes its own reward. Safer, kinder, more alive. There's no land grabs, no punishments, just a shift in the center of gravity, from hoarding to harmony. Private enterprise continues, but with a new foundation of service and transparency. Wealth is not frowned upon, it simply circulates. A fair portion flows back into the soil that supports us all, like water returning to the earth. This is structural philanthropy, organized within the hub, not forced, not bitter, not taken, but chosen. Because a peaceful, thriving community is better for everyone, including those who once stood at the top alone. In this future, poverty fades because connection grows. Compassion, the oldest wisdom, spoken by both teachers, becomes the quiet engine of society. This is a path toward tomorrow, shaped not by ideology or rivalry, but by a gentle search for balance, the place we call the sweet spot. The in-between point where dignity rises for those in need, because the ceiling of excess is lowered just enough to lift the floor beneath us all. And so begins the sweet spot journey, a long look forward into a society designed not for competition, but for caring, a world where new technologies allow everyday people to guide decisions, vote on individual issues, and shape their communities directly. From this starting point, we begin to imagine what a compassionate structure could truly be.